companion podcast to PillagingJustForFun.com, the only Raider fan site made by Raider fans for Raider fans. Tune in every Tuesday on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. Call the show and leave a message. 408-909-PJFF. If we like it, we'll play it. Also, follow us on Twitter at PillageJustForFun. That's at PillageJust4Fun. I'm your host, Kenny Stapler, joined every week by the co-host of the year, Raider Kane. It's time to pillage another podcast. What's up, Kane?
What's up, Kenny? How you been, man? It's been a while, man. It's good to be back. You know what I'm saying? I was missing you, man. I felt a void in my life, man. Where you been, man?
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. To be honest, I needed the break, but the break happened. I have my daughter in town. So it was a special time for me. I went on vacation, and then I actually went to a show. I went to see Dr. Octagon, which is a hip-hop project, came out in like the mid-90s. A huge cult following. It was a one-time thing. The front man for that group is Kool Keith. If you're an old-school hip-hop fan, you know the Ultramagnetic MCs, you know who Kool Keith is. DJ in that group is Qbert. If you're a Bay Area hip-hop fan, you should know who he is. Possibly the best turntablist ever. And producing that was Dan the Automator. So it was a cool show. I went to see that. That was on a Monday night. Scheduling, happened. We couldn't really get it together. So I apologize to all the listeners out there, but thank you guys for hanging in there. We hope you enjoyed the Lincoln Kennedy interview. But that was my time off. What have you been up to during the break?
Oh, man, I've just been trying to, I've been on a little business venture, man. I've been trying to put little things together here and there and just trying to make sure that everything goes smoothly when I do what I'm finna do. I'm not finna tell everybody yet, but yeah.
You got something bubbling. I'm excited for you. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for you to announce it. I'm really looking forward to it as your friend. And I don't know, just in general, man, I'm excited about it. I can't say too much about why because I'm going to give away your secret. So I'm not going to say anything else, but I'm excited.
It's all good, baby.
If you're listening, just be excited. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, be excited. Anyway, yeah, so a lot's gone on, man. Well, actually, maybe not enough has gone on, but free agency is in full swing. It's kind of a weird free agency this year. It's not as rich of a market as it was last year. It was pretty robust. There was a lot of names out there. I feel like things are moving a little bit slow. It didn't get off to a cracking start right out of the gate. The draft looks pretty good this year. That might be a reason why. I mean, there's a lot of factors out there, but the bottom line is the biggest story right now in Raider Nation and free agency is the potential of a Marshawn Lynch resurrection. Beast mode returns is on everybody's lips right now. So just kind of reset this. Lynch is talking about coming out of retirement, and he timed his announcement. I didn't really see him say anything, but the rumors started coming up in his visit to the Seattle headquarters this last weekend. Everything timed just after Eddie Lacy signed. The Seahawks pockets got a little bit more shallow, and he kind of puts them in a position where if he does do this, they're really going to have to consider releasing him. There's talk that they want to trade for him. Of course they want to trade. Of course they want something out of that. But where is their leverage at right now without a whole lot of money? And he's saying, rumored to be saying that if he does come out of retirement, it's the Oakland Raiders or bust. As you all know, Marshawn Lynch is a Bay Area native, lives in Oakland, took this year off to kind of rehab and heal and get his business venture up and running. And maybe he eyeballs this as a great time to come back. He sees his childhood team on the rise and a big hole at the running back position. And he's a big hole hitter as a running back. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about it? Like, what's your gut feeling regarding the whole situation? Is this a possibility? Is this reality? Is this all just conjecture? What should Raider fan feel about this, Kane?
Well, this has been this is not the first time this rumor has come about. Last year this was discussed, somewhat under the radar. And so this year it seems to have a little bit more steam to it. And it seems like it can really possibly happen. There's a lot of speculation out there, and people have opinions, and a lot of people that's saying, hey, well, do we bring Marshawn Lynch back? Is he healthy? Is he in football shape? Can he make he was hurt before he left, and he didn't have he didn't leave in a good way because he left, basically being injured or not being able to be the Marshawn Lynch that he was in 2015. So, with that being said, I think we should bring in Marshawn Lynch. I mean, I think that it will be good for the Bay Area. I think it will be good for the Raiders. I think he still has something left in the tank. Yes, some people are saying this is a PR move and it's about to be a vote on whether the Raiders going to go to Las Vegas. So Mark Davis wants to appease the Oakland fans, and maybe this is some kind of PR stunt to bring in Marshawn Lynch. But honestly, do you think if Marshawn Lynch thought this was a PR stunt or something like that, they would actually consider it? I don't think so. I think this is real. I think Marshawn Lynch feels like he has something left in the tank. And I think Marshawn Lynch can come back and get us to be a short yardage back. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to carry the load. We got Jalen Richard. We got DeAndre Washington. Those guys can carry most of the load. And then you got Marshawn Lynch for 3rd and 1, goal and 1, 4th and 1 if you have to. You got Marshawn Lynch. You got somebody, a proven back that can get you the extra yardage. Does he have to carry 15, 25 times a game? No. 10 carries a game from Marshawn Lynch should get us a win every week. That's what I think. And if you're thinking about whether we should sign Adrian Peterson or Marshawn Lynch, I think either back can do both of what we look for right now. I think we have come to an era where we're going to be running out of the shotgun, and we got Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington, who does that very well. That's what they did in college. That's what they excel at. So we don't really need bruiser to carry the load 20, 25 game. That's not what we need Marshawn for. Like I said, 10 carries a game should get the job done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And let's not forget, Marshawn's never really had injury concerns until 2015. I think he had a hernia or some back issues that year that really kind of limited his production. But prior to that, he had only missed 1 game. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's where he's at. So, and this isn't a finesse guy, right? Marshawn Lynch's specialty is running dudes over. So when you talk about being in game shape, I think this guy can shake the rust off real quick because he's not a finesse player. It's not about his cuts or his juke moves or his spins. It's about his sheer power. And from what I've heard, he's in shape. Right? He stays lifting. Marshawn doesn't look like the type of dude that's going to stop. You don't get the nickname beast mode because you're a quitter. So, I fully believe this. When I saw Adam Schefter reporting this, I'm like, well, I mean, there's not a better source than that. This isn't like Scott Bair, no disrespect, but like some local beat writer just kind of drumming up rumors, or even just some Twitter handle. This is Adam Schefter. This guy breaks free agency news for breakfast. So, believe it, Raider fan. This guy really wants it. There's nothing not to believe about this. It's a matter of can it get done and will it get done? I don't know what the timeline is or what the deadlines are when it comes to contracts or his contract specifically. So this can drag on for a while. So I know everyone's really impatient. I know everybody's really excited about this, but try to just forget that it's happening until it happens. Do remember Peterson's out there. He's kind of just like, what the hell's going on? No one's really sniffing him too hard. As we all know, this draft is deep with running backs. But if we can get a guy like Lynch or Peterson to come in and take a little bit of a deal for the thought that they're going to make a real championship run with this team, then snag that dude and draft somebody as well. And you got an awesome mentor there in place to bring your pedigree running back along. I think that the Seahawks, what I've seen with their cap space situation is they're estimated between 7 and 11 or 12 million left at this time. That's always a fluid number, and it's kind of a crapshoot. So that's what I'm saying. It's about 7 or 12 mil. They got to reserve about 4 to 5 mil to sign rookies. Marshawn Lynch is due $9 million this season, and that's a full cap hit. That full $9 million will hit the cap this season. He's also due a signing bonus at the start of next year. So the Seahawks are saying that they want to trade this guy, but what's your leverage? And if we're going to trade for him, which I know McKenzie typically doesn't do, he did it for Matt Flynn, but he was in a real pinch when he did it. Where it's not really that case, even though we really would like this guy, we don't need him. We really want him. We can make do without him, but obviously far more exciting with him. So I really don't see the leverage there. But if we were going to trade, me as a fan, obviously I can say these things and there's no ramifications. I'd give up a 7th, which seems like nothing, but would they do it? A factor you have to remember is that the GM of the Seattle Seahawks was learning to be a GM along with Reggie McKenzie under Ron Wolf, another former Oakland Raider. It all comes full circle. So those two guys sort of have some fraternity there. And so there's a possibility that they might do some charity for Marshawn. But I've also heard, that the owner won't stand for it. He's not going to take nothing for Lynch. So we'll see how this all pans out. One option or one scenario I don't see being mentioned enough is the fact that Marshawn could just stay retired, in which case Peterson becomes a really attractive option again. And remember, the Peterson to Oakland Raiders talks were pretty hot about a week and a half ago, and Lynch came along and wiped all those off the board. But it could be back in play. So I wouldn't be mad at Peterson either, but I'd really be wary about how much money we give him. I really would. Now, there's a lot of morality issues and stuff that hover around that. We're not going to get into that on this show. So, we need to upgrade. That's what it comes down to. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the guys we did sign. Most recently is Jelani Jenkins. He's an outside linebacker coming out of Miami. Who is this guy? What should we expect of him? Should you be excited about it? I'm not terribly excited about it. I just look at this as Malcolm Smith's replacement. It's not a downgrade. It's not an upgrade. He looked fairly well in 2014. He was drafted in 2013. So here we are. We're losing all these 2013 free agents or guys that we drafted to free agency this year, typically known as Reggie's worst draft year. And here we are signing more mediocre guys from the 2013 draft. But we get Jenkins at a lower price than Smith. He's younger than Smith. And so I guess in that way, it's somewhat of an upgrade. But he is a coverage back. He can cover. His sack production went down. His tackle production went down. He had no forced fumbles last year. In 2014, he had a pretty strong season, like I said already. So he's kind of a project dude. He comes on the team, and hopefully he can, at least maintain the level of quality we had at that position last year. But I know most Raider fans don't want that. It was an eyesore. What are your thoughts on the Jenkins signing?
Basically, I think we signed somebody to compete for Malcolm Smith's position. That's what it all boils down to. We brought in a guy who's been injured, and I think Reggie McKenzie has a infatuation for injured players. I don't know if he like giving second chances or what, but we brought in a guy who was basically injured most of last season. He has some upside, probably more than Malcolm Smith. So, the jury's going to be out on this guy. That's all I can say. I mean, 2016 season, he played 7 games or started 9 and played 7, something like that. So, that's less than half a season. So we'll see. We'll see what Reggie's doing here. But I know one thing. I will say one thing. Reggie is not. If everybody that thinks that Reggie is going to go out and spend a bunch of money, do your research, people. Look at Green Bay. Look at how Green Bay has maneuvered over the last 15 years when Reggie was there. They don't just go out and spend a lot of money. They calculate their salary cap. They look at who they got to sign in the future. They looking at contracts coming up. If you want Derek Carr here, and you want Derek Carr to stay here, then you need to be a Reggie McKenzie guy. If you want Khalil Mack to stay here, Cooper, these guys, the core of this team, That's who Reggie's worried about. So when you get Zach Brown to come in here and you get all these other players to come in and leave, it's because Reggie is saying, you're going to play for us at my price or you're not going to play for us. So as far as bringing in Jenkins, it was a guy who he was able to offer a contract to. He accepted the money. He knew he was hurt a lot last year. This is a 1-year prove-it deal. You get in here and you prove yourself, and you might be brought back next year. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, not a shocking signing. We wanted Zach Brown. I know a lot of fans wanted to land Zach Brown, but the dude's trying to get the money, and that's just not going to happen here in Oakland, like you just stated. 2 other guys that were brought in, these are sort of low excitement signings. Again, EJ Manuel, backup quarterback in Buffalo, another 2013 draftee. I think he was 16th overall. Major bust out there. Kind of a lateral signing, moving away from McGloin. I don't see him any better or any worse than McGloin. I mean, people would argue with me, but bottom line is he's a backup quarterback. Will probably always remain a backup quarterback, and cross your fingers that he never, sees the field unless it's a blowout. The other one that was low excitement was Marshall Newhouse. I kind of look at this guy as just another Austin Howard. He's going to, compete for the right tackle position. It's going to be between him, possibly Howard.
I don't like that.
Denver Kirkland and Vidal Alexander. I don't like the move either. When he was let go, where is he? He comes from New York,
Giants,
right? The Giants. Yeah, Giants fans on Twitter were more than excited to see this guy was not re-signed. That is a bad sign.
Sounds like Menelik Watson. I mean, you know what? How do I feel about this? I feel like we brought in another guy to compete for Austin Howard's position, which would be a backup. That's what I think. I think we're still going to draft. I think I think Reggie has his eyes set on somebody in the draft. Like we spoke to Lincoln Kennedy a few weeks ago, and he told us that there's no right tackle on the roster right now. The starting right tackle isn't. And I'm going to tell you the same thing. The starting right tackle is not on the roster right now. This guy was brought in as a utility guy. He was brought in to compete with Austin Howard. That's who he was brought in to compete with. And Austin Howard is not a starter. So, therefore, we're looking for a better backup to right tackle than Austin Howard. You know what I mean? We're going to draft somebody to play right tackle who's going to compete with Vidal, Howard, Marshall, and a draft pick. And I guarantee you that draft pick is going to win out. So I'm not worried about the Marshall signing. It's one of those things where you got a Khalif Barnes type player, somebody who you can throw in a pinch, who can play guard, who can play tackle. And you need those players. Offensive linemen, they tend to get hurt regularly. So, you'd be lucky to have a full season with all your linemen together, your offensive linemen together. So bring in Newhouse and let him compete with Howard for the backup spot, because that's what he's competing for. He's not competing for a starting position. They're not going to start Howard, so people don't panic. Reggie got this. He's going to draft somebody, and that's going to start in right tackle.
Yep. Right tackle position's wide open right now. Not a lot of talent there, but lots of depth, and future's in the youth. So look forward to that in the draft, I suppose. Just be glad this isn't your left tackle. This isn't a guard spot. This isn't your center. We got Pro Bowlers locked up at every single one of those positions right now. So you could at least feel good about that. The 2 signings I was probably most excited about were Jared Cook and Cordarrelle Patterson. So let's talk about Patterson. What are your thoughts on this guy coming out of Minnesota?
I think it's a very good addition to the special teams. He's a gunner, and he can also return kickoffs. And does he return punts?
He doesn't return punts, no.
Okay, no. So he doesn't return punts. Well, you know what? We haven't had a good kickoff return guy since his name doesn't come to mind. He got a Liz Frank injury a few years back under Hugh Jackson, and he was also
Ford, Jacoby Ford.
Jacoby Ford. There you go.
Yeah.
Apologize, Raider fans. Got a lot on my mind right now, but yeah. So Jacoby Ford was the last best kick returner we had here, So we just added a guy who can take over for Holmes at the number 4 position, and he can do something that Holmes was doing. Holmes was a good special teams guy. This guy comes in, he does more than Holmes. He can return kickoffs and play gunner. Holmes only played gunner. So to me, kudos to Reggie. All y'all want him to fix the defense. He just added another special teams player to the roster. Not so much a receiver. We didn't really need a receiver. We needed a gadget guy. We needed Tyreek Hill, Tavon Austin. What's homeboy name from the Titans? We needed a player that can get out there and make some plays, gadget, and that's what we got. We got a gadget player, and welcome to the gadget world for the Raiders. Hey, go out, get Patterson. Let's fix the defense in the draft. Like I said again, I'm not tripping off free agency. We didn't make a big splash play this year, and I didn't expect us to. I expected us to go into free agency just like we did. And you and I talked about this. We talked about this. I said I was wrong. I said we should bring back some of our own players. But you know what? When I look around the league and I look at the contracts that the players got, kudos to those players. Hey, get your paper, baby. Do your thing. I love you for that. Was Reggie going to sign you to those contracts? Absolutely not. Was Reggie going to give Trawick the contract he got? No. Was Reggie going to give Allen the contract he got? No. Watson? No. All these guys, we were coveted. Our free agents were coveted, and they got signed quickly. And you know what? I'm happy because that tells me one thing, that we are now somebody to worry about. So teams are coming after our free agents. Could you say that 3 years ago? Absolutely not. You can say it now. So let's be happy. Let's be proud of that, and let's just wait till the draft and see who we get in the draft. As far as Cordarrelle Patterson is concerned, you added a special teams guy to the roster. Somebody, like I said, that can return kickoffs. He can play gunner, and we can throw him in there on the offense and he can come out the backfield. You can put him in the slot. So, hey, it's a win-win situation. It may not been the middle linebacker that everybody wants, the inside linebacker, the somebody to replace Malcolm Smith. It might not have been that, but that tells me one thing. Reggie McKenzie is not the executive of the year for being a bad executive. So I'm going to trust everything that he does. And I think we're going to go into the draft and get all the players that we need to fill the roster. And if you think about it, think about it. Look at the young players on the roster right now. Look at the defensive tackle position. We loaded at defensive tackle. Yeah, people say that Ward was a rookie. We let McGee go. Well, was McGee really a big part of our plan?
He could have been, really, but he was always injured. He's always injured. So
were you going to give him the contract that Washington gave him?
No, absolutely not.
Was you okay? Was you going to give Watson the contract that Denver gave him?
Absolutely not.
The only player, absolutely not. The only player that we could have gave the contract that they got was Latavius Murray. Everybody else was in my opinion, overpaid. And I'm happy for him. Get your paper. But you wasn't going to get it here. So,
No. And I think the guys that have signed elsewhere, it's like a total of $15 million. So I wouldn't have spent $15 million on those guys. If we spent $15 million and I looked at those names, it'd be like, what did we get? I want more. I want more for that money, right? You want a Marshawn Lynch or something like that. So, that could still happen. But yeah, Patterson, I'm looking at his stats right now. He had 52 catches last year, 70 targets, about a 74% catch rate. He had one dropped pass in 70 targets. So, hey, this guy might compete for the number 3 spot, and he is a gadget player, and I think Downing's going to work him in just fine. Bubble screens have been a part of our offense. It's kind of an inside joke, but I think he's going to do just fine. I'm actually really excited about it. He's a speedster. So the other guy I'm kind of excited about is Jared Cook. Not Marcellus Bennett. Sorry, he's not the big tight end that was available, but the guy had a splash at the end of the season. He caught the amazing sideline catch from Aaron Rodgers that got them to the NFC title game. People have pointed out that he also dropped 2 passes on that drive, but what matters is he caught that one. He came in mid-season coming off an injury. He's always kind of been an underachiever his whole career, but he flashed. He showed at the very least that he has the ability to get downfield as a tight end. So now you're looking at Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Cordarrelle Patterson, Seth Roberts, and Jared Cook every time Derek Carr drops back to pass. And don't forget the possibility of Rashard coming out of the backfield and Walford in double tight end sets. This offense is ridiculous. So if you're worried about the defense, the offense just got that much better. And we limped into the playoffs with a shoddy defense and without our starting quarterback. So coming back into it this season, with the offensive upgrade and no defensive upgrades, which will happen in the draft, I still like it. It's not a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world. The NFL free agency isn't run by artificial intelligence. This isn't Madden 2017, guys. This is, real life. So Jared Cook, it's big. The guy can block too. He can at least block better than Walford. So we finally have a guy that can kind of do both. It makes Michael Rivera walking away easier. It's not really that hard to begin with, but tight end position got upgraded. Feel bad for Walford if you want, but he had his chance. He didn't make the most of it. He's not going away. He's still on the roster. He still has a chance to be an up-and-coming tight end. And when Jared Cook moves on, who knows? Maybe Walford is the guy at that time. But I think Cook's exciting, He was a playmaker when it counted, and he's ours now. How do you feel about the Jared Cook signing, Kane?
I think we got somebody to replace Michael Rivera. And again, here we go. The same thing that happened with Howard and Marshall. We didn't bring somebody in to start. You're not going to try to bench Walford. You drafted him. GMs don't do that. They don't want to say that they made a mistake. And if you think about it, did Reggie make a mistake on Hayden and Watson? I mean, they got contracts in their second contract. They got big contracts. So you're not going to say you made a mistake. So what we did was we let Rivera walk, and we brought in somebody who Reggie had something to do with drafting, who Reggie saw probably more potential than Rivera. And you're still going to have Walford. You're still going to have the blocking tight end, the guy.
Lee Smith.
I'm Lee Smith. There you go. You're not going to have. You're still going to have Lee Smith. You're still going to have these guys. What's going to happen is they're going to play them both. And maybe now you have a chance to where you can really have that 2 tight end set. You know what I mean? You got 2 capable tight ends. So we'll see. It's not a splash signing. It is somebody, like I said, you replace Rivera. That's about the best comment I can give it right now. Until we get into camps and games and, see something out of this guy. The last thing I remember is that he made a tiptoe catch on the sideline from Aaron Rodgers, and it was a beautiful catch. That was the last thing I remember from this guy. And it was in a playoff game, too. So Walford hasn't done that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm not saying that he's going to start over Walford. I'm not going to say that right now. I really ain't. I think Walford, he hasn't had a full offseason to work with Derek Carr. And so we'll see what happens.
All right, amen to that. So there it is. We're going to take a short break right now, hear from a caller, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about who's left and who it is that we may potentially re-sign to bring back. So we'll catch you guys on the other side. Enjoy.
Raiders!
You're listening to the Pillaging Podcast, companion podcast to PillagingJustForFun.com. The only Raider fan site made by Raider fans for Raider fans. featuring fan-submitted articles and the most lively Raider Nation conversation on the internet. Follow us on Twitter at Pillage Just for Fun. That's at Pillage Just the number 4 Fun. Also, tune in every Tuesday on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio.
PJFF, what's up, dudes? It's Podunk Raider. I just wanted to say happy free agency and note that Reggie replaced Menelik Outhouse with Marshall Newhouse. So it's been a great
we're
month.
back. So we talked a little bit about who we've
take care.
signed, and we talked about the Marshawn Lynch thing. Let's talk about who's left out there. You got there's a lot of talk about Hankins, Jonathan Hankins from New York. Guy had a great season last year, but the thing is, he's asking for. They thought he was asking for about $8 million, which it's doable for this guy. You know, he's young. He's a guy that you want on your team. He's 25 years old. But then it came back that he's actually asking for upwards of $10 million or more. That's out of our price range. So Raider fan that's still out there waiting for Hankins to land with us, highly unlikely for all the reasons Kane already told you in the first segment. McKenzie's just not going to spend the big money there. So scratch Hankins off your list. If he shows up, it's a surprise. It's really slim pickings after that, guys. There's a guy coming out of St. Louis. You probably know TJ McDonald. He's a safety there. I wouldn't mind picking him up if the price is right. We did lose Nate Allen. We need depth at that position. Reggie Nelson isn't getting any younger. And you know how I feel about Nelson's season last year. So getting a guy in there to compete with him, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Is there anybody that's on your radar, Kane?
We're done. We're done in free agency. Unless Zach Brown hops on a plane, comes back here and signs a contract, we're done. It's over.
And
on to the draft.
It most certainly looks like that. I mean, Kane's most likely right. There's going to be guys that we sign. It's not going to be anybody you're going to get excited about. These are going to be depth signings. These are going to be camp competition dudes, 1-year contracts. These are really high mileage or unproven dudes. So Kane's right. We're done. Moving on. Who's left out there from our squad that's a free agent that maybe we should bring back? The first name on my list, and maybe the only name on my list, is Perry Riley.
Perry Riley, that's it. We brought back Kondo, and that was one guy on my list. Perry Riley is another guy who I think we should take a long look at, bring him back, at least bring him back into camp. But, a lot of these guys, they're veterans. They won't start in positions. And they look to start when they get signed because they still got a lot left in the tank, they feel like. And so when they sign a contract, they won't guarantee that they're going to start. And you just don't know where Reggie's going right now. And so, this may be a holdup for us signing Riley. Riley might not get signed till we start. Remember, we picked up Riley off the street. So if we could pick up Riley off the street, that means that he was already out there floating. So there's not an interest, even though there's film, and he played well, just like he did in Washington. He played good in Washington too, but he was injured. So he's out there, and we know it. And I don't think nobody's going to rush to sign him. So like I said, on to the draft. We're done in free agency, man. I would like to see him bring Perry Riley back. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, on to the draft.
Yeah, I'd like to see him come back too. And Michael Rivera, he's gone. You got Cook in there. Darren Bates, take him or leave him. Saquon Edwards, again, take him or leave him. These are guys that are easily replaced, again, with other, low value signings or in the draft or undrafted free agency after all that washes out. So that's pretty much it. It's not really a juicy free agency period. And I don't want to get to talking about the draft just yet because we got a long ways to go. And that situation's always really fluid. You never know which guy is going to get caught up in a scandal or, you know, the valuations seem to fluctuate up and down, even more so as you get closer to draft day. It's almost day to day at that point. A guy that's like a, you know, mid first rounder drops to the second round projection and he actually gets drafted in the third. You just never really know. So we'll touch on all that. We'll probably bring somebody in to help us out with that too. But that's really all I got this week. What do you got, Kane? You got anything else you want to talk about?
Actually, I don't, man. It's been a pretty boring free agency, and I knew it was going to be like that, so I was prepared for it. You know, and we got the owners meeting coming up to meet about the Vegas vote. You know, so it's just one of those things where you kind of just want to sit back and kind of just say, you know what, let's just see what happens with everything. And that's including free agency. That's including everything. Excuse me. Everything is at a wait and see standstill right now. That's Vegas and free agency, the draft. You know, you saw what we did in free agency, which was much of nothing. We didn't re-sign. We didn't extend Carr, which I think is going to happen sometime during training camp.
You the real MVP.
And, you know, there's really pretty much, you know, this is what happens when you got a winning team. We're boring. We're not going to do anything to excite you, to get you going. I mean, like you guys, okay, New England, they did all these different moves, but guess what? They must have thought they're weakening. So they thought they had to strengthen themselves. So instead of saying, oh, New England got better, New England just strengthened themselves because they thought they was going to get weaker. We didn't need to strengthen ourselves because we are already strong. So let's just give Reggie McKenzie his time. Let's not lose our minds over free agency. Let's wait till the draft comes and let's just see what happens. Let's just chill. You know, it's a lot going on. It's a lot coming up here, and let's just chill out and just see what happens. Let it all play out, man. You know, that's all I can say.
Absolutely. There's only one other storyline that I'm kind of keeping my eyeball on in free agency, and that's Tony Romo. And the reason why is because Denver is on that short list of guys that could land Tony Romo. And that worries me. That really does. You know, we joke about Tony Romo. Anybody that's not a Cowboys fan, and even some Cowboys fans joke about Tony Romo. He's a great quarterback. He just doesn't really have the clutch factor, so that's why he gets clowned on. But if he ends up in Denver, that's a dangerous situation for us. The AFC West is already difficult enough as it is, but you give Denver a real quarterback, you really got to watch out for him.
Can he make it past week one?
Yeah, right. Can he make it past week one? And hopefully we have something to do with that. But if he does, so I want him to go to Houston, and then, you hear the rumors about Jerry Jones trying to block him from Houston. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think that's like a Dallas pride thing. He doesn't want him landing in Texas. I don't know if there's more to that. If you know, you can chime in with that. But, I'm really keeping an eyeball on the Tony Romo situation. No Romo is the motto around here for me. No,
you know
Romo.
What? I'm not worried about Tony Romo. This is a time when people should be worried about us. I'm not worried about other teams no more. I'm tired of being worried about other teams. I've been doing that for the last 13, 14, 15 years. I'm tired of that. Now you got to worry about us. You got to worry about us, Derek Carr. You got to worry about Khalil Mack. You got to worry about Amari Cooper. You know what I'm saying? That's who you got to worry about. So until you can stop that, then I'll be worried. And up to now, we're 12-4. I'm not worried about nobody. Nobody. Denver, Tony Romo, nobody.
All right. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for keeping me grounded every week and bringing me back to reality. Man, it's good to see you, bro. It's good to talk to you. It's been too long. We need to get on the phone. We need to connect, maybe barbecue or something. We need to get some of these blog guys together. We need to have a little off-season barbecue. You're right. Off-season's boring. We need to spicing it up a little bit. So with that being said, it's time to get up out of here. Once again, this is the Pillaging Podcast. You can tune in every Tuesday on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. Also follow us on Twitter @PillageJustForFun. Call and leave a message every week to be played on air. 408-909-PJFF. I'm Kenny Stapler, joined every week by my co-host,
Raider Kane.
We out here.
We out here, baby. Raiders.